Welcome back, everybody, to the DreamHack Zowie Open here live from Montreal. Really working on that Montreal pronunciation there. We're here for the WCS Summer Championship, the WCS Circuit Summer Championship, and we've now officially crossed the halfway line on day one, getting ready for the exciting games this evening. Thank you to our sponsors, Zowie, Razer, G2A, Monster Energy, and of course, Alienware. And remember, guys, like I said earlier, when you use Twitter, include the hashtag DHOpen and, of course, hashtag WCS. Now, on the desk for this game, we have Todd and, of course, Tastosis. Hello, gentlemen.
Good to be down here, man.
Yeah.
Very excited for this next match.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. We'll talk about it in a minute. But before that, of course, let's just rewind a quick second and look back at what we just saw. It was a one-sided series. Major, Artosis, as you so wisely predicted, would come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at Terran versus Terran. That hasn't changed over the years. And, you know, Masa, that's not where his real strength lies. This guy kills Zergs and he kills Protosses. So I'm not, like, super surprised, but I am a little bit sad for Masa because if he got a deep finish here, very likely he could go to BlizzCon. But now he has to hit the next WCS event and he has to go really deep.
Yeah. Of course, he was also mentored by the great Artosis back in the Brood War days, which is probably the main reason why that was such a dominant showing from him.
Everybody was mentored by Artosis.
Yeah,
to be
at one point or another. I am as old as the Deku tree itself.
Here are a couple of moments from that series, and I mean, it's the highlight clips here are going to just demonstrate how much of a walkover it really was. And bit of a surprising result for quite a few, of course, with Masa's strong performances this year, but he was wiped aside by Major, Todd.
Yeah, when Major gets in his comfort zone and, you know, gets things going, he's a very hard guy to stop. So actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, in the next days how well he can do against other opponents, not necessarily just in TVT, and it's nice to see him do well.
Yeah, and he's guaranteed a spot now in the next round, of course, in the round of 16. And we can take a look at that bracket to see who potentially he'll play next, and of course the other matchups that are starting to develop. So the round of 16 so far looks a little bit like this. Major will play the winner of Violet versus Kelazor, which is a game that will play in just a few hours or so. And you can start to see some of the other positions being filled out. Tudming went over and through against
It takes out sort of, you know, this up and rising Zerg from Europe. Feels Tude, man.
Whoa. This is why you're the greatest caster, Artosis.
Actually, the first non-European with Major to make it, like Europe has been doing pretty well so far here. Although we did have a lot of Europe versus Europe, NA versus NA matches in this bracket.
And here is the schedule. So right now we're about to go into Snute versus True. Obviously a very exciting game. Violet versus Kelazor was mentioned a little bit after. Petite Drogo versus Bunny, a rematch from earlier on in the year. And of course Puck versus Scarlet. And I'm sure everybody is looking forward to that one towards the end of the evening. But let's change our direction a little bit and start talking about our upcoming games. Snute versus True. Of course, True now, for the first time, has entered the WCS. It's his first event. He comes into the big one. Snute's been around in this, obviously, system for a long, long time.
Some big expectations here out of True. It took him a while to get his visa, but he finally got it here. So I think he's going into this with maybe a lot of pressure in a way. He had an impressive run in the qualifiers where he beat a lot of good players, but he's going up against a Snute that just right after Shanghai won a big tournament over in China, the NSL, and he's just riding a lot of momentum here going into this, and he's very good in ZvZ himself.
Yeah, I mean, sadly for True, he comes into this with basically no seeding to his name because
he needs to win the tournament here. If he wins the tournament, then he's automatically qualified for the global final.
I mean, like, he comes into it with he is the lowest seed type of player in this tournament, going up against one of the best players in the very early stages, so he's got his work cut out for him.
You know, the way that you word that, it definitely makes me think he has his work cut out for him, but this is True. This is a GSL Code S player. He dropped out of Code S, which he qualified for through Code A. Very tough process to you know, come over and start playing in WCS. So he's a really, really strong Zerg player, and I think he has really good ZvZ. So, you know, I think that this matchup is a pretty close one.
It's going to be interesting because you're right, he did drop out of Code S, and that is, you know, obviously a pretty impressive thing to do when you're already, you know, that deep into a tournament. But to come here, I do feel like this is sort of Snute's turf, right? Snute has been playing in tournaments exactly like this for a long time. He's made the most money now.
Out of the
foreigners.
Out of the
yeah.
foreigners, correct? He's made the most
Yes.
money now. I mean, this
Yeah.
is you really couldn't be doing better. I mean, Snoot's basically a 1%er as a pro gamer right now. So it'll be interesting. I think it could go either way, but I definitely think Snute is going to be very much so in his element.
Yeah, I mean, this is where he makes his bread and butter, right? This is his living, is these live big events. So, you know, he's no stranger to that stage.
Well, here are the map vetoes on screen for you guys. You can see at home. For this one, veto each, of course, and then the map picks.
It's a massive match for me. I would go as far as saying that I think like whoever wins here between these two might very well win the whole thing. Like both of these players just are so good, and they're going into this with a lot of confidence. Against Snute, just won the NSL. True in the qualifier for these tournaments, he beat Pili, Puck, and Kelazur. So he's already like, he just moved to North America. He's already kind of doing very well in that region. Not gonna say dominating because you know he hasn't played the Hydra, Pulse, and Neebs yet, but doing pretty well for himself for sure. And it's a matchup of maybe one of the best European ZvZ players, best ZvZ also, I guess, worldwide. Snute is a guy who's always done well against Koreans. Against, technically, a Codes Zerg, a Korean Zerg, which is very rare to see for these guys, you know, to go up against somebody like Snute. So that makes it a very interesting matchup stylistically as well, where the Korean Zergs, they play very aggressive, where Snute, he's been known to slow down at times, although in tournaments as of late, we've seen him still being fairly aggressive.
Yeah, and it's something we haven't seen too much this year, really, is it? The WCS players going up against the top-tier Koreans from the Korean region, and obviously this is kind of one of those moments. But thinking back over the years, we've had a couple of players who have, you know, played in a tournament very last minute and then shoot towards the global playoffs and play, you know, at BlizzCon towards the end of the day. This could be the start of the Cinderella story for True, where he comes in, wins it all, and then qualifies.
Yeah, he has the potential to win it all. I don't think he's going to. That's a ridiculously tough bracket. There are a lot of great foreigners now, including some Koreans left over in this bracket that are really strong, but he does have that potential, being someone who's been in Code S. He's shown a different style than other Zergs. I think people aren't going to be quite ready for him. You know, he's very Zergling, Baneling focused.
I would have expected you to predict him to win the whole thing. He comes from GSL Code S, the best and biggest StarCraft tournament. Isn't that what you guys say all the time?
Here's what I will say, actually, is whoever wins here, we got to keep our eyes on for the rest of the tournament, because you have two possible narratives. You have Snute, who's basically the most dominant non-Korean out there, and then you have True, who, you're right, did make the switch over. This isn't very common. He's decided to go outside of the normal playing field he's at, and he's obviously doing this because he thinks this is a superior decision, that this is probably a better, more profitable playing field for him. So it's gonna be very interesting to find out what exactly is gonna happen.
Well, based on what you say, I've got my fingers crossed that he doesn't lose in the first round.
Well, it will be pretty big if he does, right? I mean, after making, you know, getting this visa and going through this whole process to then get knocked out here, we'd really have to reevaluate, especially a player like Snute and what kind of caliber game he can bring.
All right, well, the game is almost ready. We're going to move into predictions and final thoughts. So, Artosis?
I'm going with True taking this one down 3-2 or 3-1.
Anything else you want to add? I think we can add it a little bit more if you want to. If not, you can pass it on to Tasteless.
Hold on, you put me on the spot now.
If you want to. You've got a little bit of time.
I think True will use a lot of Zerglings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Tasteless?
I might have drank the Kool-Aid here, or the Snute-laid, as you might say, because I think Snute might actually take this.
I was going to say Snute-laid.
That's why we're in duo. That's why we're in Archon. I think there's definitely a chance that Snute could take it. I'm almost more interested to see him move on, so maybe there's a little bit of bias there, but I'm going to say Snute 3-2.
All right, Todd.
I was always going to pick Snute, especially after Artosis picked True. So Snute, he's got a very good mindset these days. He seems very happy. You know, he's really enjoying his job, you can tell, compared to a few months ago where he was making some very emotional tweets after losing in some tournaments. So I feel like he's riding a lot of momentum, and like you guys said, this is turf. There is no way Snute is losing here. He's going to take it 3-1.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to go to the casters for this one. It's Tastosis.
It is indeed. Thank you, Apollo. Thank you, Todd. We are going into game number one. Make some noise for our first player over here in the upper left. He is Snute. And his opponent down here in the bottom right, originally from the GSL Code S in the blue, it is True.
Game paused.
All right. start this off with a game pause, see
All
what that's
right.
all about.
We're trying to keep it consistent here.
For the sake of consistency.
That's right. For the sake of consistency here, we're going to get this paused.
Yeah.
And hopefully pretty soon here, we're going to find out what is going on.
Yeah, you know what? That's fine. I need time to catch up with you anyways. You know, I've been on vacation for a couple weeks.
That's right.
And, you know, when I left for vacation, I thought for sure you would just refuse to cast without me, Tasteless, but I've been having to watch you with all these other casters.
That's right.
Earlier today with Maynard.
These younger, hotter casters.
Well, now-
I'm seeing on the side here, and it's good to be back with you. Hope you guys are having fun out there, by the way. This is my first time in Canada, and I got to say, I absolutely love Montreal. Beautiful city, wonderful people.
Indeed. We've had a great time walking around so far, and hoping to see more of the city before we go as well.
Well, if we have delays like this, we probably won't see any more of it, but we are still going to wait and see what exactly is the issue. But as soon as we get this game ready, we are going to hop right back into it. If you're just now joining us, this is game number 1 in a best of 5. The loser is out.
And guys, by the way, get out there and hashtag DHOpen. If you didn't know what Apollo said when he said DH Open,
Open.
That is British for H,
yeah.
The letter H, so DH Open, and
That's right.
let people know about this tournament. This is the Summer Championships.
If we had a Z in this, it could have been the DZ Open as well. I mean, we dodged that.
What about
one,
the HZ
the
Open?
HZ Open. So, we're not exactly sure what the issue is. As soon as we do get it resolved, we are going to be, as we said before, jumping into this. But yeah, it's good to be back here with you, Artie. I think I hadn't seen you for like maybe 3.5 weeks.
Maybe 3 weeks, I think. It's the longest that we've been apart in
That's right.
about 10 years. So.
It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
So this is cool to be back here. And of course, when we're all done here, we're going to be flying back to Korea to go back to the usual routine.
Indeed.
But enough about that. We're back in the game. So Snute in the upper left and True in the bottom right.
This should be a good one. Very much looking forward to who takes this one down. Of course, True is looking to win this tournament to make it to BlizzCon. Snute, if he gets a deep placing at all, he's basically locked. He's very high up in those points so far.
So we have our 2 players just sending their initial scouting overlords out. Of course, with all these matches today being best of 5s, it's always interesting to see the players adapt to each other's playstyles, attempt to make minor or major alterations in order to tailor a strategy and a style of play that can really overcome the other players. So game 1, especially between these two kings of different territories of the world now fighting it out right at the start of this tournament. This is a very, very important game for game 1 because this is where they're going to start reading each other. If you want to have some red herring builds you can throw out, this might be a good time to use it as well.
Indeed. And, you know, we saw, like, for instance, Todd very much like on Snoot's side saying, of course, he's going to be able to win this. But you and I were actually eating a meal with Snute yesterday, and he was a little bit worried about going up against True. He realizes this is a really strong Zerg player and is very strong in specifically the ZvZ matchup. So I'm very worried for Snute here. Because if he bombs out, there's a possibility enough people pass him that he doesn't get to go to BlizzCon.
Well, it's also a little bit of this rivalry of different regions. You know, you do have. It's generally considered that the Koreans who are in Codes are maybe a little bit better here. But of course, for Snute to win here would be a big blow to the ego of the Korean scene. We already have, by the way, these links coming in here right now, doing a little bit of harass. It looks like it's going to be Snute being the initiator there. Insta-Baneling nest going down right at the front there, which True has revealed to Snute.
Both of them have speed at about the same place as Baneling Nest as well. And like we oftentimes say in ZvZ Tasteless, take a look at that production tab, and that will tell you a big chunk of this story. Even though the build started differently, they're kind of hitting the same place.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon here in ZvZ, is for things to kind of end up in the same place, even though you do start out on a different foot. But to what I was saying earlier, I mean, there's really a lot on the line here. This is kind of a point of big conversation here is how would a GSL Codes Zerg do?
Yeah.
One of the the few that have been around, Zerg has not been this dominant. Now up against the guy who's been doing the absolute best here outside of Korea. So there's a lot that. And we're going to be talking about for weeks after this.
Oh, you're very right about that, and that's one of the hot topics right now is Korean Zergs versus foreign Zergs, because the foreigners have a lot of really strong Zergs, especially over in Europe, with Snute, of course, leading that pack alongside Nurchio.
That's right, and we have the Banelings over here in the front. Looks like a denial here. Does not take out the drone. One Baneling does detonate over there. The drone does pull back. Looks like it was True, who was very interested in trying to get a hatchery set up there at that third base proximity location.
Some more pressure coming in. A lot of Zerglings on the way right now for True. He is getting that hatchery. It's not that far along, whereas Snute's is quite a bit more, so that's definitely a big deal.
A little bit of pressure here over on the hatchery, although this should be not too impactful. Meanwhile, True actually going northbound right now with a small group of Lings that actually circumvented the other Lings that Snute had down there. They may be able to put a lot of pressure over here on this hatchery.
This will be a really big deal if they do end up getting this hatchery over here. And in fact, it looks like they should be able to kill it off. Snute not even canceling. A great move here from True.
Huge moment where he had to make a decision back there. He does take out those Banelings. Now going to dive in here.
Whoa.
But there are more Banelings there to drive True back.
Now, this is kind of scary because we do have Roaches out. We do have Banelings as well. So there is a possibility that Snute puts on some pressure. But as he throws down that hatchery, I think he's going to have to defend it, or we're just going to see True run in once again.
Interesting moment when we saw Snute's hatchery get attacked back there. He did have the option to cancel that. Now, it wasn't exactly a luxury to cancel it because he had a few seconds to make that decision, but he did let it finish, and that was a big mistake. Definitely canceling that would have been a lot more equitable.
It certainly would have, so that does put True into kind of an interesting position here. He definitely has map control. He has that third base already up and running, and he's about to have his Roach Warren as well, so we're going to see him get into that higher tech unit set just like Snute has.
And it looks like he does manage to take out that next Baneling. Some Roaches over here. Actually, two groups of Roaches. One rotating around the top right side, the other around the bottom left. But True with his own set of Lings on each side is able there. Oh, and he actually gets into the main.
Very nice, surrounding this Queen right away. Another Queen standing there in between the pool. It's going to be a lot harder to get her. So he does run up into the drones as well. But this is a nice move. True is really controlling the pace of this game so far.
Yeah, definitely able to keep an eye on what has been going on that main and actually take out 4 drones, which isn't huge, but it's definitely something. Sometimes a victory in StarCraft is like a series of paper cuts, and we definitely are seeing True get some good moves off here with that hatch, taking out those drones there. That can certainly add up in the long run.
Yeah, like right now he is ahead in drones by about 10. That's a big deal, but he's behind in that army supply. There are a lot of Roaches out for Snute, and we could see him do a powerful attack coming up, but True has really started his own Roach production as well. So I feel like if we have to assess the game right at this moment, I really do like where True's at.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to see how True is handling this game, and also doing a really good job with low-cost units like these Lings, just keeping the Roaches at bay while True can try to set up the necessary defense to survive a later attack here by Snute. In fact, Ling's going to be running around 2 groups of them again, 1 4 over here, another, I believe it's 8. In fact, that's going to be cornered right here.
Yeah, this is going to be like 300 right there. Those Lings are not going to get out alive very easily. A few of them do run up towards that natural, trying to buy more time. He sees a lot of Zerglings of Snute there as well, and this should kind of give away Snute's intentions. He is absolutely going to go for a very powerful attack.
Yeah, Snute's going to be going for the jugular, it looks like, in just a few minutes, but in the meanwhile, he's going to have to manage to deal with these tiny micro attacks. Miney attacks.
Yeah,
that's a new.
Right. These are tiny
changing
attacks.
the casting meta here. These are tiny little attacks where he's trying to take out some workers and keep the Roaches back for as long as possible. True does see the attack over here from the north, headed southbound. True already intercepting with these Roaches. Snute is going to have to reorganize.
Very good map vision so far, but a lot more Roaches on the way for Snute. He is just massing up as far as his army goes, but we actually have more Roaches out for True. He's also going to have his +1 range attack done at the same time. He's going to have that Roach speed done before we actually see Snute hit. So again, it feels like True's in a good spot, but he's kind of out of position here with these Roaches.
Yeah, he could actually get caught down here. Now, interestingly, True is actually going all the way around. We have 2 armies about to each other in opposite locations. Lings are coming down here now. Drones are being evacuated, and the Roaches come down here to finally drive Snute back.
Very nice move, though. It does force him to reposition, and now a ton of roaches coming through the middle of the map. Snute is angry, Tasteless. He is going for the throat.
Well, let's see if he can actually manage to get in here. It still is True with a very big army and a very good angle. Snute is coming in, but roaches from nearly 360 degrees of True, dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, this is some great surface area for True, and we're so close to his rallies as well. He forces Snute back. Snute having to run home right now, and this entire time, Snute has been down 10+ drones, so True leads in absolutely every way.
And it's definitely possible that True could take a fourth base along with this. We do see some Ravagers coming out here, as it looks like Snute will perhaps do simply another major attack, relying on 3 base and not trying to bring this into a longer game.
Yeah, he's going to have to defend for now, though. We have True moving up through the north part of the map while taking the 4th base. Hopefully we can see Snute maybe go down there and force a cancel, because if he can't, then True is going to gain even a bigger advantage.
Yeah, True just looking bigger, faster, stronger right now. A small harass down here, but meanwhile, here comes True going over to the 3rd base. The Ravager artillery has been fired as True is splitting his army.
Yeah, he's actually taking a lot of shots, getting some good surface area there for a moment, but I feel like this is going to Snute's advantage with those corrosive biles coming down, but still True rallying up, trying to get more roaches in here, and a flank coming in as well.
Yeah, a few roaches over here in the back to hit those Ravagers. Losing those Ravagers, very cost inefficient for how much you have to invest in that. The drones have been pulled. True may be able to tip the tide here.
Oh, so well done by True. He's dealt a huge amount of damage, killing off quite a few drones as well. Snute is rallying out reinforcements, but they are being picked off so quickly by this massive amount of roaches from True.
He's continuing to move forward right now. A few more roaches do come in, and he looks to be overrunning him. There it is. GG! True takes game number 1 in our best of 5 tonight.
Superbly played game right there by True. His Zergling harassment was fantastic. Getting a kill on that 3rd hatchery, Tasteless, I think that was the beginning of the end for Snute.
Pretty scary game back there. Yeah, he got that first hatchery, and it's interesting, Artosis, because we saw that he could have canceled, but it was not an easy choice to make, because you cancel that, you're still not going to have an expansion for a little while, whereas if you take some damage on it, okay, you can get your drones over there, start to mine, but that was one big blow. Then we started to see these counterattacks, and eventually it seemed like True just had all the answers, and that last big counterattack from Snute, that was completely beaten back. The angle was horrible. There was no way he was going to get in there.
Yeah, that was a very tough one with the full surround coming on. But True really kind of playing to his strengths. This guy is fantastic with Zerglings, and those counterattacks let him get into this position right here where Snute was forced into a big attack, and then look at this surround by True, bringing his roaches down from the north that were going to counterattack, and just surrounding and crushing Snute's main army.
And for those of you guys watching, it's important to understand that Snute was kind of forced into attacking here. True was in a tremendous lead, but occasionally, if you're defending enough attacks and you're trading really effectively, you actually have more muscle in this big timing attack, and that can then snowball out of control. But especially with the angle there, I mean, like I was saying, it was nearly 360 degrees.
Yeah, at least 270 degrees.
At least. All right, guys, we're in game number 2. Let's make some noise for our first player down here in the bottom left. He's made more money than any foreign pros in StarCraft 2. Make some noise for Snute! His opponent here in the bottom right, just now entering the non-Korean scene, originally a GSL Code S Pro gamer. Give it up for True!
An absolutely awesome crowd down here in Montreal. Since the beginning of the day, Tasteless, those seats have been filled, and they have been awesome so far.
Yeah, this is so cool coming down here and sharing esports with you guys here in Montreal. This is a lot of fun, and what a great match actually to have here as well, man. True versus Snute. I mean, talk about starting out here with day one. Pretty exciting games.
There's a lot of fireworks on day one here. You know, at these summer champs, everyone is just gearing up, trying to win that BlizzCon spot, trying to secure enough points to get to BlizzCon, the World Championships, of course, at the end of the year. And we've already had quite a few upsets, and I think a lot of people might even think, hey, if True is able to actually finish this out, that might be an upset as well.
Certainly. I was actually expecting Snute to do a little bit better, but he still obviously has a chance to do that here. If we can get a shot of the bridge on this map, because I think this has a little bit more of a significant role in this matchup specifically, you have a very long travel point. This is quick access to your opponent's side of the map, but of course, between Lings and Roaches and basically every other Zerg unit, you can definitely cut off and sometimes hold off a lot more with a little in a moment like this. So we'll see.
Baneling holds that ramp, Diesel.
Essentially,
you cannot get by anything there. It's so small.
Bouncer Baneling at that bridge. You are not going to pass with your Lings. So we'll see if that plays a role. Otherwise, they will have to go through the northern half of the map, which is a little bit of a longer travel distance, which is why a lot of times we do have some very long games if the boat isn't rocked early on.
Yeah, it's a really big map where it is hard to attack people later on, and True has done good to abuse this in a way. He's actually gone for 2 hatcheries before getting his spawning pool up, so he'll take a slight advantage as far as that economy goes, as those larvae goes, against Snute.
So let's see. Already a little bit of a difference with these two guys playing. Those 3 hatches, obviously, we will have to see some kind of a reaction, whether that's aggressive or Snute taking a hatchery of his own. A few Lings coming up here. Very nice save there on the extractor. Not losing a drone back there.
Quite well done so far. And Snute, it looks like he will just go ahead and take this third base with his drone. I think this is a good choice, because when you scout that your opponent has gone for the 3 hatcheries, it's almost already too late to damage them.
Well, especially with a map with this bridge. I mean, you're just not going to get across. I just don't think that's really a wise decision. Now, over here, we actually see there are 16 Zerglings with speed about to finish and Banelings on the way. It does, in fact, appear that Snute is going to go for that aggression.
Yeah, he might be able to get something done here. The Baneling nest for True is about to finish, so he can make some Banelings, but he's still making some drones. A few Queens are out here, and he's connected with Creep, the 3rd, and Natural, so that's very important. But can he hold on here? Snute has the ability to do some damage.
There's definitely a wide berth here where a lot of damage could be done over this area. We have the drones now being evacuated here by True. Trying to do a ring around the rose here to get these drones away. Some damage here on that hatchery, as so far Snute is in control of this territory. Snute now pushing up with 2 Queens and a Baneling to try to reclaim this hatchery.
All right, 4 drones end up going down there, and he's forced a lot of Zerglings out of True. So that was a pretty effective attack by Snute, who's following up with the Roach Warren to make sure that any counterattacks aren't going to be as effective from True.
Speaking of which, counterattack already on the way over here, and I think Snute was caught a little bit off guard. The Lings are now hitting this hatchery. I don't see enough to defend. 4 Banelings are going to be going into the natural. Will Snute lose a second hatch a second time?
He might, and in fact, these Banelings... 14 drones going down. The 3rd hatchery does get saved, but 14 drone stasis is about 10 drones too many.
It is a crippling blow, to say the least, Artosis. Although Snute did save his hatchery, you need enough drones to even produce from that hatchery to begin with. And I think that was a really smart move for True to slip that little counterattack down there through the bottom. Snute not being hyper vigilant in that game, caught completely off guard and hit pretty hard from 2 different angles.
He's forced into remaking a lot of drones right now, as opposed to building on his economy more. He has to rebuild his economy, so that makes a very tough situation for him. In the meantime, True is adding just a ton of Zerglings, and here he comes again towards that 3rd base.
Okay, you can see not being too greedy. He does not commit to the hatchery. Obviously, every Ling is important. Right now, True is attempting to set up for a fatality here. He's got a lot more Lings coming in, and here they are now. Coming down there with a good surround, but not bad angling here for Snute, just below these stairs at the ramp. But so many more Lings begin to spill in here, he could even try to target down the hatch if he wants.
He does go for the drones, and now the hatchery as well. The hatchery getting low, and down it goes. A nice pick off there, and then a ton of lings running into the natural here for True.
And he is continuing to engage down here. A few lings here to try to stop this from Snute. Snute is just taking too much damage already, too fast.
Oh man, more drones are falling. Nice harassment here as True runs up into the main base, making a lot of lings at home as well. Snute is doing everything he can to turn this attack off, but it is just not working for him.
I don't know if Snute can hang on for much longer. The lings have done so much damage. We continue to see more and more coming across. An important note, though, to balance this out, it's 25 drones to 27. So still, True is committing so much to attacking. It's not exactly like he has a huge worker lead.
No, you definitely have to sacrifice something to make this many Zerglings to get that type of damage done to Snute. But so far, the damage has been done very well for True, who's now going into roaches as well.
He's continuing to try to do a little bit more damage, but it seems like there's a chance that True may be overextending here. Now he's switching into that roach tech. Let's remember, he's got at least the 3 hatches up. He can switch back into workers at any point in time. But for now, he's decided it's quite important to lean on his opponent.
Oh, he comes right in, surrounds with those Zerglings. Corrosive Biles go down. They don't really help that much, though. He's going to be able to kill off all of these roaches, as well as a couple of Ravagers. Great usage here, once again, on these lings from True.
And to top that all off, he may even be able to get the hatchery here. We have some Banelings coming up, and True adroitly escapes out of the north here, not losing an excess of Zerglings.
You know what True is doing so well here, Tasteless, is controlling the flow of this game.
Right.
He is the one that's always in control. He's being aggressive. He's getting in there. And Snute never knows what's about to happen. Sometimes he's making units while we see teching up and drones being made by True. And other times he's making drones and Zerglings are running in to kill them.
You're absolutely right, Artosis. You can definitely see that True is in control of the rules in this game. He is dictating when to engage and when not to engage, and it's really been Snute up against the ropes almost this entire time here in game number 2.
And that's going to continue because right now True is marching across the map with a ton of roaches. Does Snute have the type of army he needs to hold this off? I'm not sure he does.
There's 2 ways he can try to do this. He might go into the third and try to make sure that eventually he bleeds out Snute, or he may go for a killing move and go into the natural because there's some tech there, and if he takes that out, I don't know which one is better. I think True's going to show us right now, and he's going for a finishing blow here. There it is. Wow, before the first shot is fired.
Yeah. Whoa. Snute just lays down his king, sacrifices that game, and True takes a 2-0 lead really decisively and really quickly in the series.
I did not expect these games to look like this, and we're already seeing a very pensive Snute as the rug is really getting pulled out from under him.
It is. You know, True's skill set is very good for Zerg vs. Zerg. He's great with things like Zergling run-bys,
right,
Zergling aggression, mixing things up, keeping it low economy. These are True's superpowers. This is how he gets into GSL Code S. This is how he does well in tournaments and qualifies for everything. Whereas Snute, you think of Snute, a macro player. If he got into the later game, I have no doubt that he could take down True. But in these early scuffles, True is just godly.
We're just not seeing late game. True is just not allowing that. If you got somebody who's this good at rushing, guess what? You better be good at holding that, or we're never going to get to the part of the game you want to play it at.
Yeah, certainly not.
This was huge. This was the beginning.
All 4 Banelings connecting there. That is...
Now, I think Snute is a little bit overwhelmed just looking at these games. He didn't seem to be able to catch that those lings were headed through that bridge at the very bottom. That bridge we're talking about plays a big role in ZvZ, but also he did not see the Banelings. And, you know, True did a good job back there, but that is not a unique True strat to send Banelings in when lings are hitting somewhere else. Anyways, it's now or never. We got to see if Snute can come back. In the bottom left, can he win 3 games in a row against a GSL Code S player? He is Snute! And in the upper right, looking unstoppable in Zerg vs. Zerg. Make some noise for True!
True, giving it his absolute all so far here today, and no doubt throughout the rest of the tournament, if he is able to take down Snute, again, he needs to win this weekend, the Summer Championships, to make it to BlizzCon.
That would be quite the Cinderella story. I don't know if he's going to pull it off. We're going to have to see. A really tough challenge here for Snute, if not one of the toughest challenges he's had in his esport career, to come back after losing 2 games pretty handedly, by the way. That was not really a back and forth
No, it wasn't.
pendulum match.
Yeah.
That was really True dominating, and we're seeing the water rise and rise and rise around Snute, and he's unable to swim at that point in time. He has to come back and win 3 games in a row against a player who is dominating him this hard.
Well, you know, maybe this game he can make something happen. It looks like they're opening with the same build order on both sides. So it's going to be kind of equal footing to start off this game.
Yeah, let's see how he does here. And let's also remember to really keep a close eye on what True does right at the start here and where he does it at, because he seems to be very comfortable skipping late game entirely.
Yeah. Why does he want to go to late game? You need upgrades. You need units that aren't Zerglings and Roaches.
That's right.
Like, that gets complicated.
I've heard the Zerg have this thing. I think it's called a layer. It's some crazy thing where you get these
a layer? You sound like a liar to me.
Right? He is not going into tech here. He is just fine, essentially winning off of tactics early game. Which really highlights how good True actually is. Is that I think if you go into a macro game against Snute, it's going to be pretty tough to beat him. But what if True doesn't let you do that?
Well, True has always marched to the beat of a different drum. Like, this guy has his own style, and he's utilizing it brilliantly here. The thing is, he just kind of joined the scene. He has traveled some in the past, but, you know, this is a new and improved True. He popped back to Korea for a little bit, got right into GSL Code S. I mean, it was a rocky road for him, but he did it, and he's playing at a really high level at the moment that I don't know if there's another Zerg quite like him in Europe that these guys have had enough practice against to take him out.
Well, this is one of these interesting things. Whenever you get somebody who's the very best in their field, how do they get better, right? You know, Snute has really been so dominant for so long. It's almost like he's his own species of Zerg in a sense, and now he's suddenly meeting his match here with True, who is just marching to a different beat.
Oh, he's going to run to a different beat in a moment here as his Zergling speed finishes up.
That's right.
No doubt they'll be poking and prodding a little bit, see if they can get some scouting done, but still, these are mirror builds. Both players going for third bases. They both have Baneling Nests, and as you see there, Snute going to be the first one to get a full scout off, but nothing is weird, nothing is out of the ordinary.
No, this is all par for the course here in the matchup, Zerg versus Zerg. We are seeing them drone up. I am curious to see if True maybe will, by his own volition, go into a macro game against Snute to see if he can test the waters there as well. And of course, you know, if you try to be a tactical every single game and win early, you would assume a player of Snute's caliber might be able to handle that. So this is going to be interesting here. But Snute, really long road ahead of him. If he's going to come out here, and that would be one of the most incredible stories we've ever casted if he managed to come back in a series like this.
Well, 3 in a row, ZvZ, kind of a volatile matchup against a player that I think is favored stylistically speaking, at least against him, would be a tough one indeed. But so far, this is exactly the same build for both sides. Like the layers, the Roach War, and even the Evolution Chambers are lined up. And I think that all of that plays towards Snute's strengths, really. Like, he wants this to get later and later. He wants for True to have the same stuff as him, because then his superior macro skills can come back and maybe win the day.
Well, let's see if that does seem to be the case. We're seeing him tech up here. We're getting, you know, we're getting right now Snute having an attack upgrade. Layer tech is on the way here as well, so this is definitely turning into a different beast of a game.
Yeah, and True he's dropped the trigger here, Tasteless. He is just making units nonstop. He has some Roaches already that he had made, and now is just rallying speed Zerglings behind it. So this is going to be a big attack coming out while he's going Spire behind. Can he get some damage done here?
Well, he's going to be moving out now. We see in the left side of the map, he is beginning to move in here with his Banelings and his Roaches. He's not even waiting to regroup them. He's just heading directly in here. The Banelings already connecting with the Queen and some other Zerglings. Now going into where these drones are.
Oh, a big Baneling connection right there. A lot of red drones. He's taking out quite a few as well. 9 drones already gone. A couple Queens falling as well. Just no defenses ready for Snute.
And don't forget, he has the Mutalist tech on the way. I don't even know if Snoot's going to be ready for that with his Spire already being later. So many more drones going down. Up to 11 now 12.
13. We can count all day like it's Sesame Street if we want, but I mean, these drones continue to fall. A great attack from True, which Snute is completely unready for. A far too greedy game.
And now we have more links coming in here. It looks as though True is going to attempt to attack in multiple locations, hoping that Snute will be spread too thin. Now down to 33 drones. The Spire moments away from finishing. The threat of Mute attack is very real.
Oh man, those mutas are going to be so strong for True as well. Having killed off this many drones, you can't afford to make your own Mutalisks. But, you know, we do have some units for Snute to try to hold on. It's just 3 bases, I don't think you can cover all of this. I think these mutas are going to be GG.
Well, that's the big thing about killing drones in ZvZ is since the majority of the units in the game are obviously coming from Larva, if you're remaking drones, you're just not making attacking units. And here comes the follow-up attack with Lings going in here, and mutas will be headed southbound here, going for the Spire as well. He could lock him out of air tech.
He's dealing a lot of damage here. The drones have been pulled. Roaches coming up to clear this. But you know what? Just keeping those Roaches busy is job enough because a ton of mutas are on the way, and Snute is in trouble. He sees these mutas, and there's almost no option for him here, Tasteless.
He is continuing to hit in so many locations. The drone count continuing to go down. Nothing here to defend. I don't know if Snute can possibly recover.
Some mutas popping out, but they get picked off as quickly as they are born. We have Snute going across the map with his Roaches, trying for some sort of counterattack, but there's plenty there to guard him.
GG.
Wow, a very fast, very dominating 3-0 coming out of True here.
True, just bigger, faster, stronger, man.
Yeah.
He just did a phenomenal job. You can see that he was not going to let Snute get into late game, and that means True is a little bit deeper in our tournament.
Yeah, that's a big deal for him as well. Of course, Snute cannot be happy with this outcome. He really wants to get a little bit further than this and secure his spot at BlizzCon with some extra points, but he's still ranked very highly, still a very good chance that we'll see him at BlizzCon. But True, he has several more rounds that he must win if he wants to go there.
I gotta say, I did not think that series was going to look like that. I thought maybe we'd have like one game, okay, where there'd be, you know, some intense rushing, we'd see it in quickly, but even in some of the games where, like the last one, we thought, oh, I guess he might be going into a more standard game. Nope. Lots of Lings are coming. They're going in different locations. Is Snute ready to be hit from every angle?
Well, let this be a warning to the rest of the players in the tournament. Yeah. This is how True plays. He will just turn on the aggression at the drop of a hat and be everywhere at once. So you can't be greedy against the guy.
You really can't. I just am blown away because normally in a series, the player who's beginning to lose is also adapting. This time around, it was like every attack seemed to be almost new to Snute.
Yeah, you know, he had actually made 17 more drones than True as of the time True hit the attack. So he was definitely caught off guard here. He thought that they were just like in a gentleman's agreement, you know, here's a nice little fake handshake where we're going to drone up, get into 3 bases, go into mute attack, and play a long macro game. But, you know, True, realizing that Snute isn't really scouting him actively, is able to pull something off like that and kill so many drones.
I mean, talk about just a terrifying player now moving on. Just so dominant. I don't know if he can be stopped in that matchup, Tosis.
Oh, in ZvZ, I don't know who would stop him.
Tosis. I think Zerg's better head for the hills.
Well, maybe a Terran or Protoss, Tasteless.
Maybe, yeah, we'll have to see. We're going to have an interview now down at Smix City. Smix, take it away.
Thank you very much, Tasteless. First of all, congratulations, True. You knocked out Snute, but you didn't just knock him out. It was a very, very convincing 3-0. So I'm wondering, going up against a player that so many people are not only huge fans of, but he's a very, very talented player. Everyone knows Snute is one of the best foreigners. Did you expect that it would be such an easy 3-0?
Yeah, Snute is pretty good player. He is China champion. Yeah. So I scared. I thought my bracket is unlucky.
Because of Snute?
Yeah. But I practice a lot, so I win.
When you practiced, did you look at Snute's play and did you prepare for Snute, or did you just practice your own ZvZ and think, okay, if I can just play my own ZvZ really well, then I can beat Snute?
I prepare for Snute.
Okay.
Because Snute is very strong. So I played some more greedy.
Okay. Now, let's talk about you in general. I know that last year we saw you a lot.
Yeah.
At every tournament, we always saw you. But this year, we haven't seen you much at all. In fact, I believe Home Story Cup was the first time we've seen you. And now you're here at the Summer Championship and you knock out Snute. I mean, I think that for a while now, especially recently, the Koreans have looked very mortal. They're actually losing. We saw Hydra lose earlier to Welmu. At the last tournament that we saw, Polt was out early. A lot of these Koreans are actually losing now. Then you show up after disappearing and you come back and you remind us that this is what Koreans usually do. You knock out all the other players. So how has this year been for you in 2016?
뭐라고요?
이번 년에
네.
이제 오랫동안 해외 팬들이 못 보셨잖아요.
네네네네.
그래가지고 이제 드디어 이렇게 다시 오셨고,
네.
근데 최근에 그 많은 한국 선수들이
네네.
지고 있어요.
네네네.
그래서 요즘 같은 시대에 갑자기 다시 방태수 선수가 와가지고
네네네.
이제 또 이렇게 갑자기 한국인 선수처럼 이렇게 제대로 이기고 있는데,
네.
아무튼 이런 거 다 이제 포함해서 다시 이 대회에서 나오기 기분이 어떠고 그냥 어떠세요? 이번 년 어땠어요?
I was prepare my visa. So I didn't practice a lot because I want to play tournament, but I can't because my visa.
Yeah.
So I lost passion and I then now okay, but foreigner players much better than last year.
Wow, so you actually feel like everyone has improved a lot.
Yeah.
So out of all the foreigners, who do you think is very, very strong? Like if you had to name a few people
Snute,
that you just beat 3-0. Okay.
Snute, Nip,
Okay, Neve. Nurchio?
Nurchio. Yeah.
Well, Maynard, I know that you were sitting backstage while also watching his
I
games.
watched the games. You've asked literally the three questions that I wanted to ask. It was like, how do you feel? And like, are you afraid of anyone else in this bracket? Yeah, I was watching a game. So you prepared specifically for Snute, prepared specifically for him. Have you prepared specifically for anyone else, or did you just concentrate on round one, on round of 32? Is there anyone else here that scares you that you've prepared for?
아까 전에
네네.
스누트 선수가 상대로
네.
너 좀 위험한 선수니까
네네네.
스누트 생각을 하면서
네.
이제 준비를 했다고 했잖아요.
네네네.
근데 이제 스누트 이겼으니까
네.
다른 선수들도 위에 준비하셨는지 아니면 그냥 스누트만 생각하고 준비했는지.
Just Snute.
Oh.
Just
Okay.
Snute.
So did you
Okay.
feel like if you just beat Snute, you would be fine for the rest of your bracket?
Yeah.
Wow.
Snute,
Okay.
but I prepare Hydra. But Hydra
Lost.
lost, so I happy.
Okay.
Good answer. There you go.
Okay. So
So he's not really afraid or to the point where he's prepared that much for anyone else.
apparently not.
It's going to be interesting seeing tomorrow's games.
Yeah. Well, it's really good to have you back, Drew. Congratulations again. Moving on to the top 16 here. He will be playing Hearthstone in the round of 16, so let's look forward to his matches. But of course, we are not done yet. We do have another match coming up, and it will be Violet versus Kelizor.